Welcome to the lesson in breathing. I'm going to give you two methods of breathing today, which are going to help you become a little bit calmer in times of stress. And if you use them properly, you'll prevent a lot of stress going on. Let's just work out what's going on when we get stressed. Let's break it down. It's the same as fear. All right. Anger building is the same as fear building. It's kind of the same emotion. It causes the same reaction. And what I know through science and what I know through my research and through my own personal experience is when anger starts brewing, you've probably heard it many times. You've got the red mist sometimes goes over our eyes and we can't stop being angry and we don't know why. Well, I understand it to be that there's a chemical reaction and hormones are being released. And as those hormones are released, they're magnified, they're multiplied because of a couple of things. First, we don't have oxygen going to the brain. So the brain starts panicking. It causes more rage, the same as it causes more fear. There's a hormone being released called cortisol. And when cortisol releases, the way I tell it, the way I understand it is just think about it. It's coming from the core of your body. It starts to rise. It hits your heart panics, it hits your adrenaline, and your adrenaline starts spreading all over your body, and then you become enraged. When you become enraged, you start to shallow breathe or hold your breath. You scream or you shout or you hold your breath even more, and that just multiplies the energy of anger. There's a couple of things we can do, right? So that I can give you a couple of ideas of what to do right now because it's just a quick lesson so you can get it, take it, and practice it. The first thing is what I call box breathing or tactical breathing. The Navy SEALs, the US Navy SEALs brought this to my attention. I read something about it. And when I was out in Iraq, I started practicing this and I found it really reduced my fear and it allowed me to never really become enraged in situations. If you've read my reports, my documents, my PDFs, you'll understand some of the situations that happened to me when I was in Iraq were quite intense. And I never overreacted nor let my anger get hold of me because I was using this and techniques like it. Breathing is essential. So box breathing or tactical breathing is a basic exercise which may be easy for you to do, may be quite difficult for you to do. But let's just say we're going to use 5 seconds to breathe in. We're going to hold our breath for 5 seconds, and then we're going to exhale for 5 seconds, and then we're going to hold a breath for 5 seconds, and we're going to repeat that cycle. If you can't do 5 seconds because it's taking you too much breath and you start to puff and panic, then you go to 3 seconds. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds hold, 3 seconds out, 3 seconds hold, and then repeat that cycle. I've never done it for 6, 8, 10 seconds. Maybe that's something you can do on your own, but I stick to 5, right? So basically, it's a simple process like this. Keep on doing that. While you're doing that, you might feel, oh, it's a little bit, I'm not timing it right. But the more time you do it, the more you become relaxed, the more you get into a nice, steady relaxation mode. And the whole way through it, what you're doing is you're saturating your lungs with air, which is a small percentage of oxygen in it. You're holding your breath, which allows it to get into your lungs a little bit deeper for a little bit longer. And then as you exhale, you're blowing out carbon dioxide, poison, let's just say, from your bloodstream. It's going out into the air. You're breathing in some fresh oxygen. You're holding it, it's saturating, and then you're breathing it out, letting the toxins come back out. If you do that for a couple of minutes, 3, 4 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, you're going to find yourself really feeling quite chilled. It's going to help you in anger situations. It's going to help you to prevent anger bursts. That's the first part. First part. The second part, or the second breathing technique I'm going to teach you, is something I learned from the Buddhist monks or from Buddhism when I studied it when I lived in Thailand for 10 years. It's just a steady, nice breathing technique. And if you watch my podcast with Pierre Pertuzzo, he talks about it in a way that he breathes in for 4 seconds and breathes out for 6 seconds. And he'll do that prior to going in to see a client, before dinner, when he's stressed, and it brings him into a nice relaxation mode. So I agree, this is a great way to breathe. But again, I learned this type of breathing from the Buddhist monks when I was trying to silence my mind. Now, there's one thing I want you to focus on here. When you're breathing in, you're filling up your diaphragm, you're filling up your stomach, your belly first, then your chest, right? That's the system here. And then when you're breathing out, you're exhaling, so your chest deflates, then your stomach deflates, and then you're breathing back out again. There's no holding your breath in this particular breathing exercise, but it's a very much a relaxation exercise. I'll talk about what you could do with your mind in a minute, but let's just talk about the mechanics of the breathing. So again, I say breathe through your nose. If you can't breathe through your nose because you've got a blocked nose, then of course breathe through your mouth. But the way the body has been designed is you've got lots of hairs in your mouth. So if you're in a cold climate or if you're in a hot climate, by breathing in through your nose, you're regulating the temperature of the air. By the time it gets to your lungs, it's not shocking your lungs, it's not contracting your lungs, it's nice and easy. So that's why I recommend breathing through your nose if you can. All right. So basically, all you want to do is breathe in. You can see my chest opened up there, and then breathe out. As you get to that last breath, don't go too far before you breathe back in. Feel your chest rise, and then you keep on doing that. So as you're breathing in, you want to be filling your belly up full of air. Once your belly's full, it will naturally open up your chest. And just before you run out of breath, cycle it out. So you're going to breathe out, your chest deflates first, then your stomach deflates. And then just before you get to the end of your breath, then you breathe in again. And as you're doing that, you're going to be giving yourself so much oxygen. It's bringing you down and it's getting you to relax. I use that technique, not box breathing. I use that technique to go to sleep when I'm finding it difficult to sleep. It works a lot of the time. Sometimes it doesn't. Like I mentioned on that podcast with Pierre, I couldn't sleep for a few nights at the beginning of this year, but that's where this idea came from. So the fact that I couldn't sleep meant there was something going on in my mind that I had to take action on, and I was not able to sleep because my mind was somewhere else. I didn't know where it was. It wasn't until I came back out here to the computer and I started breathing like that and I wrote myself an email. It's another great lesson here. I wrote myself an email asking me as a trainer, could I help? There's my problems. And I came back, I answered that email to myself as a coach, as if it was a client, and I managed to get from deep inside my mind the idea for the anger, a Symphony of Strength book, and then subsequently the Bend the Rules training program. If you like this short, oh, before we finish, I just want to talk. While you're doing the breathing exercises, I want you to focus on what it feels like with the breath going through your nose. So as it's going through your nose, what's that feeling like? And focus on what it feels like going into your belly and what it feels like in your chest. And then as you go back out, keep that feeling. As you go through that more and more and it becomes more natural, you'll begin to think about things. But remember, that isn't what you're there for. You're there to breathe, to calm yourself down. If you're allowing thoughts to randomly come into your head, no matter what they're about, that wasn't what this task was about. This task was about breathing exercises. It wasn't an allocated time to think about something that causes you stress. So that which comes into your thought process is actually not welcomed at that time. So if you said to yourself, I'm going to breathe for 3 minutes, there should be no thoughts that interfere with that. If there is, remember, focus on what it feels like in through your nose, focus on what it feels like in your belly, focus on what it feels like expanding your chest, and then the reverse cycle. And acknowledge that that thought came in, but don't panic and don't act on it, because that will break your breathing routine and that will eventually become your main dominant thought. We've got to try and keep the thoughts that are causing us stress out of the way while we do our breathing exercises. I hope you enjoyed this short lesson on breathing. If you want to know more about breathing or more about what we do on our training programs, there's a link to my Facebook page. It's called Coach Denny Denham. Go there, send me a message, and I'll get back to you and send you some more training. The next lesson that I'll be doing, which is again linked down below, is on the importance of exercise in your daily life. See you next time.